And now another episode of Donny Boast Friday Football Flash with your host, Donny Boast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have returned to the NFL because we are addicts. We have an issue and a problem and a trouble with the league. We must take more and more and more, even when the Bungles in the Washington Redskins tie in London. What's notable about this game isn't that the two of them went over there just to tie, but that both teams scored more than one touchdown. Congratulations, everybody. That is NFL football. The Lions lost in Houston. They're very good at home, is Houston. Except in the playoffs when they face the Chiefs, apparently. Speaking of the Chiefs, they went into the Colts and reminded them that they have a franchise quarterback, but don't. The Patriots went into the Bills and reminded them that they're the Patriots, and reminded myself that they're the Patriots. Yes, sirree, everybody. The Bills lost by 1,000,000 points. The Chargers went into the Broncos and remembered who they were. They are the Chargers. They choke. They fail. They lose. The Cardinals went into the Panthers to lose because that's what they do. The Seahawks went into the Saints and lost because that's what they do. It's very hard to win in New Orleans, and this is a big game for them. New Orleans feels like they're in the hunt, and the Seattle Seahawks were due for a loss, especially 4 million miles away from home. The Jets and the Browns was actually played out as a football game. They didn't assassinate either team or make them stop playing before they even got started. What ended up happening was the New York Football Jets won and beat the Cleveland Browns as hard as the Cleveland Browns tried. The Raiders won in overtime in Tampa Bay after staying the week in Florida. What does that say about the Raiders? Hey, they can win on the road. Let's see what happens at home, because it ain't going to be home for long the way everything in Las Vegas is playing out. The game of the week. The Green Bay Packers, a team under the radar this year because they still get the press, but they're not getting the love because they're not getting the wins. The Packers tried to waltz into the Atlanta Falcons, who are on a 2-game losing streak. Regardless of the circumstances, you are who your record is, and they won. They pulled it out. It was a dramatic game. It went over. It was a fun game. It was a good game. It was a game that you want to watch as an NFL fan. The Falcons won by a point, 33-32. It wasn't sloppy. It was fun. Speaking of sloppy and fun, the Eagles did their best against the Dallas Cowboys. That game went into overtime, and Dak Prescott and company ended up winning. This game lost in ratings to the World Series, of course, because the World Series was one of the best World Series in the history of baseball. That's just the way that is. You can't fault the NFL for that. You can fault it for a lot of things, but you can't fault it for that. The Vikings went into the Bears, and the Bears won a football game. Meanwhile, the Vikings are in trouble. They lost Norv Turner. He resigned this week. They don't have any sort of offensive line, and they're in a disarray. The Vikings are going to resort and de-evolve into the team that they always have been, and that is a team of perennial losing. And that's where we start the week. Detroit at Minnesota. Minnesota is favored by 6. I like Detroit to cover the 6. Minnesota's in big trouble. The New York Football Jets going into Miami. Miami's 3.5-point favorites. You have to kind of take them. They're getting things going in Miami. Finally. This is a nice NFC East matchup. It's the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Football Giants. The New York Football Giants are favored by 2.5. I like the Eagles to rebound. Here comes the Pittsburgh Football Steelers. They're never called that, but I'm going to call them that because what the hell else are they going to be called? Going into Baltimore. Baltimore's favored by 3 points, and that's only because Pittsburgh's still kind of figuring out what's happening with Big Ben. But I think you just stay away from this game. The over-under is 43. I like the under. I think neither team's going to score a point. Actually, I think it's going to go over. Who knows? These two teams are unpredictable. But speaking of this is not even anything to speak of. The Dallas Cowboys are going into Cleveland. The last time this happened was about 45 million years ago. The Dallas Cowboys are going to play the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are getting 7 points. That's a lot of points in the NFL. I'm going to tell you something right now, because it's going to happen eventually this season. The Cleveland Browns are going to win the game. They're going to win! They're going to win the game! The Cleveland Browns will win this football game, and if they don't, then they don't. I won't be calling a fool otherwise. So they got to win at some point. Jacksonville at Kansas City. Here's another game of a 7-point spread. This is a stupid matchup. Nobody cares about either team. The Kansas City Chiefs are under everybody's radar because they have Andy Reid. That's what he likes to do, and then he'll get into the playoffs and lose. New Orleans at the Santa Clara Yorks. New Orleans is favored by 4.5 points. This game opened with a much slimmer margin, about 1.5 points, I believe, and it's just been moving ever since. Everybody knows that the Yorks are just not even terrible, but they've created a new level of disgustingness in sports. They are the worst team in all of professional sports, according to all the pundits and all the news sources. The Santa Clara Yorks are going to lose, and they're going to not cover even close. This over-under is 52.5. I like the under because I don't think the Yorks are even going to score. The Carolina Panthers are at the Los Angeles Lambs. The Lambs are getting 3. You better give it to them and a lot more. Tennessee at San Diego. San Diego favored by 4.5 against the Tennessee Titans. Stay away from that game. That looks ugly. Indianapolis at Green Bay. Green Bay's got a rebound. Here we come. Here comes Indianapolis trying to make something happen. You think Andrew Luck might wake up on the road against Green Bay? Anything can happen in the NFL, folks. Anything can happen. But the way that the fucking Colts have been playing, it's just been disgusting and terrible. And I just get so mad at the Colts. They're just ruining a good quarterback. Green Bay's going to win by a lot. The game of the week, Denver at Oakland. The Oakland Raiders are favored by 1.5 points. I like them to win by 1 point. Take Denver to cover the half. I think this is going to be the game of the week. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be amazing. The Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders. Buffalo at Seattle wraps up the week. Who cares? We'll see you next time.